Hey folks, this is Picohan from the North American server, and this is the Tier 6 French battleship, the Normandie. The map is Ring, it's a standard battle, and a shout out to Vengeful Captain in the Gasoline, and Klein in the Arizona. So, the Normandie is a ship I really wanted to like. Some of my favorite ships in the game are the Congo at tier 5, the Hood at tier 7, and as it is, there isn't really anything in between that's quite the same. The Dunkirk is kind of in the same vein, but it's more like a really heavy cruiser rather than, well, I would consider the Congo and the Hood more of battle cruisers. So when they announced the Normandie, it was this really fast tier 6 ship, and it was like, okay, you're going to trade some AA, okay, fine, but ultimately, my problem with this ship is that it feels really awkward. The first thing you got to look at is the turret arrangement. I think this is A, Q, and X, where there's one turret in the front, one in the middle, and one in the back. The turrets do have 4 guns each, so this is the same number of guns as a Fuso. But the way these guns are arranged means forward you've got 1 gun, backward you've got 1 gun, and the arcs on the middle gun are really not that good. Even if the arcs on the middle gun were a little bit better, you still need to show a lot of broadside going forward to get the back gun, and a lot of broadside if you're going away to shoot the front gun like over the shoulder. So basically I'm saying the turret angles are really bad. On top of that, the armor scheme is kind of like the Britann, where it's got a patchwork of medium thickness armor all over it. And what that means is, in order to mitigate damage, you have to be really angled. So you combine these two things, and what it always feels like to me is you have to either mitigate damage or do damage, and you can't do both at the same time, which is really kind of frustrating. All that being said, the ship is still the fastest battleship at tier 6, tied with the Dunkirk, both of which are faster than the other battle cruiser-like thing, the Graf Spee. The Normandy has, over the Dunkirk though, a better rudder shift marginally, and a better turning circle, and in fact it even has a better turning circle than the Graf Spee. Put these together, the Normandy isn't just fast, it's also very agile. Now, like I said, this is a standard battle, and usually for standard battles I would say camp harder, but due to the attributes I just mentioned, this ship doesn't camp very well, and that may be partly why I find it to be a bit awkward, because if you find a good position, you can't really hold it. You have to use your speed to dodge shells if you want to be shooting and defend yourself. It's a very active sort of playstyle. So I'm just meandering along this flank, looking for some broadsides. One good thing about the speed is that you can try to get into flanking positions fairly easily. The guns on paper have similar ballistics to the Fuso, like the shell travel times are similar to 15 and 20 kilometers, but since it's a much smaller and lighter shell, the penetration is not very good, and you get a lot of overpens, shatters, and bounces. Like basically everything but the things you want to get. The Cleveland over there was angled and stationary, and you saw I didn't really have good luck with him. So I'm going to try on the Königsberg, who is basically in the same position. I think he's even AFK. 2 penetrations for 7,000. That's pretty good, but that's also because the Königsberg is one of the worst armored ships in the game, and also has a giant citadel, of course. Someone else takes out the Königsberg, so we're going to try for the Cleveland again. Because of how far we've moved and how he's backed up, he's actually giving us a much better broadside now. And I think we can secure the kill. Not really anybody else on this flank now, and so we could try to push their cap or try to defend ours. I think we're going to play it safe and try to defend, but of course I'm going to try to shoot at these 2 guys and push them back on my way over there. I couldn't turn the ship enough to avoid that island, or I didn't want to risk beaching, so I only shot the front turret at the Badioni, and of course everything missed. Partly it's because I think he maneuvered, but also these guns are very inaccurate. You pay a lot for the speed in this ship. The Fuso not only gets a heavier broadside, a more accurate one with more range, but she also has a faster reload. So, yeah. 5 overpens on the Badioni, that was lovely as well. Luckily for us, in his maneuvering, the Badioni is going to run into this island. We're going to get a better shot. I try to aim toward the center of mass here. I think at these ranges we can start getting some normal pens into the superstructure, and yeah, it looks like that worked out. With light cruisers, much like with destroyers, there's certain situations where it's worse for them to be angled, especially straight on, because you can get those full pens into superstructure, etc., rather than bouncing on the belt. So we're going to try to finish him off here. This is always a hard shot when the ship is accelerating or decelerating. We shot 3 salvos, kind of rippled, and we only landed 1 shell, and since it was an overpen, we didn't get it. But now, since the Normandie has run away and our shells are probably going to be ineffective over there, we're going to, of course, work on the Reds who are coming toward the cap. Nuremberg is, of course, the best target, especially since he's broadside. Yeah, there we go. That looked like a dev strike, but it was just a kill secure. 1 shell, 1 citadel. Next best target is the Gasoline, another super lightly armed cruiser, though he isn't quite as broadside. It's a little bit hard to see because the replay doesn't show rudder movement, but I'm pretty constantly wiggling the ship as I drive towards these guys. Gasoline gets away because the Fuki shows up, He is, of course, the priority target, since he's gonna be in the cap, and he could, like, stealth cap, etc. I don't know why he showed himself, and that was a big mistake, because we blapped him, and it wasn't even a BB full pen, it was just 7 over pens, since he was so close. I went around this island because I was a little bit afraid of torps, but it looks like he sent them over there, so we're just gonna turn right back in here. The John Way finishes him off, and we've pretty much repelled the brunt of the enemy attack. They're actually falling back now to try to defend their own cap. Gasoline, it's a little bit hard to tell what he's doing. It looked like he was slowing down, which is why I aimed toward the center, and that seems to have been right. I'm not entirely sure if he changed speed or if the dispersion was just that bad. The gasoline looks like he's trying to get behind the island, but that makes him show more broadside to us, so we're going to see if we can get him. And no, just 2 over pens. The Fuso finishes him off, so what we're going to do here is, since neither of these battleships are really showing a good profile, we're going to take the moment to rotate the guns to the other side, because what's going to happen is that the 2 battleships in the north are probably going to try to push back toward the cap, and they'll be angling towards the guys in the cap and not to us. So hopefully we can cut them off on the inside and get some good broadsides. I slowed down here for safety, but this turned out to be a bad idea. As soon as I'm not actively maneuvering to dodge shells, the New Mexico did a pretty big hit on us. Our return salvo was okay, but like I said, part of the ship's defense is to keep moving. As long as the Normandie is spotting our 2 guys in their cap, the New Mexico doesn't necessarily need to turn in to defend. He can reset from afar, potentially. But he'll, of course, be more effective the closer he is. We're just going to keep working on him while he's distracted. And this is actually a pretty surprising citadel. I didn't think we could get that. I'm not sure where it went, but probably not through the main belt. We also got the Confederate achievement because we've been shooting at a variety of targets, really. And so here you can see the move I was describing coming to fruition. We're getting some really good broadsides here as he's trying to get back to his cap. That was 12,000 without any citadels. In between shots, I still straighten out the ship. He's not shooting at us, but it's A, a safety precaution, and B, it'll let us close the distance faster. That was surprising. After those really good salvos, that one only did 3,000, and it's not because shells didn't make contact. It's because of the random accuracy of this thing. New Mexico uses this opportunity to turn around, which is actually pretty smart. He's at a little bit lower health than me, but I'm not that healthy either. And at these ranges, one good salve from him could be really dangerous to me as well, which is why I actually turned back out to angle against both him and the other Normandie. New Mexico popped his spotter. I'm not sure why. Whatever information he got, he didn't really seem to make good use of it. You'll notice I popped my repair here so I could finish him off. I was pretty confident that I wouldn't be catching any fires or floods soon, so I thought it was okay. This game was actually pretty close for a moment there. It was 3 versus 2, and the New Mexico potentially could have had a really good shot. Of course, since the last guy, I'm going to ask for the ram, but it doesn't look like this guy is interested. At this range and this angle, I aimed upper belt, but since he was going through a turn, it just all bounced. The secondaries are coming into play here. The secondaries on these ships is supposed to be pretty good, but since they can't tank that well, especially up close, I'm not sure how useful it is, even given that all secondaries are generally a trap. We do set a fire there. Again, since he's angled, he actually mitigates our damage fairly well, and this would be the same for us, but he has so little health, it just doesn't even matter anymore. And so that's the Normandie. It really looks like it's meant to do flanking maneuvers like this, and it works pretty well if you're top tier, but this really up tiers poorly when ships get faster and they hurt you a lot more. That being said, this was a pretty decent game. I was actually surprised at the 1800 base XP. We did do pretty decent damage to cruisers and such. Oh, and that Fubuki. Everything we shot was AP. Some people think you should use the HE a bit on the French. On this ship, I don't really recommend it. Maybe if, like, a bow in Colorado is your only target. But I think that's it for this replay. So have a nice day.